Welcome to Gemara Academy. In this class we will learn Tosfos Dibra Maschel v'kamafarish achnasa la'alter. Let's begin. V'kamafarish achnasa la'alter. The Gemara said that when the Mishnah in Shavuos says Yitzias HaShabbos, although the word Yitzias is used, nevertheless it's also referring to achnasa. In the words of the Gemara, Tana achnasa nami haitzah kakarila. The Tana, when he talks about achnasa, he also calls it haitzah. And the Gemara went on to say, Masnisin nami deka. Our Mishnah is also precise in getting across this point that the Tana, when talking about achnasa, he calls it eitzah. Because our Mishnah says Yitzias HaShabbos, uses the word Yitzias, v'kamafarish achnasa la'alter, and then immediately counts a case of achnasa. The first case in our Mishnah is the achnasa of the ani. Says Tosfos, v'im Tamer. Tosfos says, and if you ask, v'amaylo dayik, why didn't the Gemara point us out that the Tana, when speaking about achnasa, he uses the term haitzah, mikayach, from the fact that loy mashkachas arba befnim, that you cannot find four cases for the person on the inside, v'dal b'achus, and four cases of the person on the outside, b'loy achnasas, without achnasas. Why do we need to say, look, the Tana says Yitzias, and then counts a case of achnasa, which is later in the Mishnah? Why don't we start a lot earlier? The Tana says there are a total of 8 Yitzias. The only way to get to 8 Yitzias is if you also include achnasa in the number. It's a much earlier proof. We don't have to go that far into the Mishnah to where the cases are presented. The very fact that it starts off Yitzias HaShabbos shtaim shen arba b'fnim, shtaim shen arba b'chutz, clearly we see that achnasa is also included, although it uses the word Yitzia. Answers Tosfos, 2 answers. V'yesh lemer, we can answer the mashkachas lahu, that we could actually find the 8 cases. We can find them. Like I said earlier, we cannot prove from the fact that it says Yitzias HaShabbos and then says there are 8 of them that Yitzias must include achnasa, because it's possible to say Yitzias and say that there are 8 of them and only include the cases of eitzah, like Tosfos explained in a previous Tosfos, that you can find 8 cases of eitzah. Inami, or also another answer, the maholai have a shayach lemeimer. From this we cannot use the words and say, it doesn't make sense to say masnisin nami deka. Our Mishnah is also precise in communicating this message that when the Tana says achnasa, talks about achnasa, he calls it eitzah. We can't say that the Mishnah is also precise in bringing across this point. The mai ulma mahi de shvuas the kaima alon Allah. Because how is our Mishnah any better than the Mishnah of Shavuos that we're discussing? The discussion was that the Mishnah in Shavuos says Yitzias, and it includes achnasa, because there's no way to find 4 cases that are chayiv unless we include achnasa, because there's one eitzah for the ani, one for the balabais, and that's it. You must say there's also the achnasa of the ani and the achnasa of the balabais, then you get a total of 4. So we saw that when talking about achnasa, the Tana called it Yitzias, but we didn't feel that that was enough. We wanted additional proof. So we can't say our Mishnah is also a proof in bringing across this message, because it says 8 cases and you have to include achnasa. That proof we already have in the Mishnah of Shavuos. We want a better proof. A better proof is that the Mishnah actually describes a case of achnasa, although it starts off saying Yitzias HaShabbos. Let's just finish off the Tosfos. The Hasam Nami, because there are also le mashkachas kulu l'chiyuva. You won't be able to find all the cases to be chayiv. They all need to be chayiv. We said in the Mishnah in Shavuos, just like Maris Nagayim. Elim kein tachshav achnasas b'chlal, unless you also include achnasa. So the idea that the Tana says Yitzias and gives a number, and that number must include achnasa, that point we already have from the Mishnah in Shavuos. We want to bring a better proof from our Mishnah. A better proof won't be to say, it says Yitzias, it says there's 8 of them, it must be achnasa. That we already have in Shavuos. To get a better point, we say, our Tana said Yitzias, and that actually counted, and that the very first one, a case of achnasa. The first case our Mishnah talks about is achnasa. That's a much better proof than the one that we have in Masechta Shavuos. So to summarize, Tosfos asked, why didn't we prove that Yitzias includes achnasa from the fact that it says there are 8 of them, and the only way to get 8 Yitzias is if you say that Yitzia also includes achnasa? Tosfos gave 2 answers. One answer was that you could get 8 Yitzias without including achnasa, and the second answer was that even though that would be a proof, but that proof we already have in the Mishnah and Shavuos, and we're trying to get a better proof, and this isn't any better of a proof, and therefore we have to go to the second part of the second place in the Mishnah where a proof comes out that Yitzia also includes achnasa, and that is that the case of the ani doing achnasa is counted first.